Hello, friends. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Hankey Law. Hankey Law likes solving your problems when they happen, but loves anticipating them so they don't. They provide real people with real solutions to help get your life moving forward. Hankey Law provides criminal defense, family law, personal injury, and civil law. Listen, the legal system can be intimidating and scary. If you find yourself in the legal system, it's important to have lawyers who can explain the process, navigate the legal system, and protect your rights. Hankey Law's experienced attorneys use their knowledge to skillfully defend their clients. Maybe your family is needing representation during a stressful or emotional event. Hankey Law can help. Hankey Law is comprised of Blake and Kelsey Hankey with a family of their own, so you can trust they understand the value of keeping the best interests of you, your finances, your future, and the long-term interests of your children in mind. If you are needing legal help in North Dakota or Minnesota, go to hankeyjustice.com or call 701-746-4529. Hankey Law, counselors and attorneys at law.
Welcome to the Cloud Surfing Podcast.
How are you, man?
Good. So sorry about that.
No, don't worry, dude. How you feeling, man? How you
I'm
feeling? That
doing good.
surgery, dude.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, bro. Neck surgery is never fun, dude.
No, it's definitely could be better.
Well, we're not going to keep you too long then. We'll get you in and out of here. And let me say, this book, I've read the first couple of pages of it already, and I like the first line of it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. It pretty much opens up like, listen, not everyone's going to like what I have to say. This isn't exactly for everyone.
Yeah.
It, the first line, just so everyone, am I allowed to read just the very first
Yeah,
sentence?
go ahead. Yep.
Says, I don't sugarcoat reality. Most businesses are dying a slow death of cautious mediocrity while their leaders nod along to the same recycled business advice. Love it. Absolutely couldn't have said it any better, man.
Yeah, I know. It's like we all read the same 20 books, right? And
Right?
it's all the same
So
sanitized, watered down BS.
so tell me what made you write this book in the first place?
Yeah, so I mean, I was undiagnosed bipolar for 15 years, and kind of moving up the chain in business, and didn't realize what was happening. I just knew that, just something wasn't right, right? And I would do really good, and then something bad, I would self-sabotage, and just had this cycle going for years and years. And and when I got diagnosed, I started taking the medicine. Everything worked. It was great. You know what I mean? Like people started noticing stuff. I They didn't know what was going on, but they were making comments. You know what I mean? The problem is I completely lost my competitive edge. So I went from like Tony Stark to Tony Stagnant overnight, just completely normal, just lost everything. And I had just gotten a big promotion, and it was noticeable. And I was trying to figure out, like, man, do I need to choose between sanity and success? That didn't seem right. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. No.
And so I started to really think about the way I managed before when I was bipolar. And if you're not familiar with bipolar, there's this hypomania portion of bipolar where you're up all the time and super hyper focused. You can bounce back and forth between different things. You can set big goals, find ways to get it. You can get really creative, think outside the box. That's the good part of bipolar. Although there's some bad parts to hypomania too, but that's the good part of bipolar in business. That's what you often hear about in the business side of bipolar. Then you have the bipolar depression. Well, the hypomania, I was trying to figure out, like, how do I get that back? You know what I mean? How do I bottle some of that up and use it? And so I started coming up with some processes about how to do that, how to systematize it, automate it in my workflow so that I could manage like a hypomanic but stay healthy. And then I turned around one business and then another and then another. And by the third one, what I realized is that I was forgetting stuff. So like the 13th month, I'd be like, man, I should have done this other thing from that other turnaround. You know what I mean? And I was finally like, I'm gonna write all these down. And so the fourth one came around and I had them all written down and I kind of implemented the toolbox, as I call it now. And it just went amazing. Just everything kind of clicked. And I was like, I can teach people this because I have been teaching people this. My second in commands, my lieutenants, my directors, they've been getting taught the system over the years. But now I've got it in a playbook, you know what I mean? And I said, I think I can write a book on this. So I decided to self-publish. And then along the way, as I started talking to people about it, a publisher picked it up. And we started talking about 3 books. And so what we ended up doing is this first book is business fiction, which I love. Not everybody does, but I love business fiction. It's just kind of a story and a way to tell about a system. And so that you can easily go back and grab it, in your mind and remember that scene. And this is how you implement it. The second book will be a deep dive into kind of the nonfiction, real deep into the system and understanding why and how and that kind of thing. And then the third book will be a lot about the metrics and how to measure turnarounds and things like that.
These might be some important books for, business professionals to read in general. I mean, I'm not exactly a business professional. I mean, you've seen my tweets. Uh, but the character, the book follows a character, Jack Whalen, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And if that's how you pronounce it. Is he
Yep.
someone that you've based off of someone in real life, or is he just kind of a collection of stories, or who
Yeah,
is
so
Jack?
so interestingly enough, I actually ran a shopping cart manufacturer in real life. So the book feels real because I know everything about running a shopping cart manufacturer, but it's not actually based on individual people. So what Jack is based on is essentially the corporate executive who's facing stagnation, corporate stagnation, and that's lack of innovation, and your best people are quitting, and your employees aren't motivated, and everyone's mad, and things are just stagnating and you're either going down or you've stopped going up, but either way you're in trouble. You know what I mean? And so that's what he kind of represents. And my whole brand, my whole author brand is basically like declare war on stagnation. So every company goes through this. You're either in a growth phase or you're in a crisis phase, and then there's this huge area in between that's stagnation, right? Where you've stopped growing, you've started to dip. If you wait too long, you'll be in crisis mode. It's so much easier to fix a company that's still making $1 million than to fix it once it's losing five. You know what I
Why?
mean?
Why?
So
I guess is it more just your lead? Is it the leadership that is mostly the problem in those aspects? Because I'm looking through your hot system, right? And it
yeah.
seems like it's mostly the people on top who are not implementing the right keys to their employees. Is that what I'm getting right?
Yeah, I mean, and I do a heavy top-down leadership style for the most part. I find ways to bring people in, and we do a lot of continuous improvement where it comes from the ground up and things like that. But in my opinion, the leaders and the director level need to be firing on all cylinders in order to drive turnarounds, especially once you get into the turnaround type crisis situation. And so, yeah, I think leaders are typically the problem. I had somebody ask me on another podcast the other day, like, how do you know when it's time to transform? Like, when does your company need a transformation? And I was like, if it hasn't had one in 3 years. So like
That's
you
fair.
have to do it. You have to do it every 3 years. Now there's so many things that are changing. Every market's changing, every technology is changing. I'm like, if it's been 3 years since your last major transformation, then you are overdue. That's just how it works.
And
So
transformational leadership seems to kind of be the key to
yeah.
this book here. That's I mean that's a principle. I'm getting an MBA right now, believe it or not.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
And we're focusing on this right now. Literally
Yeah.
this past week, we just talked about this. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
This is interesting that it comes up, and I'm curious. Just going through it, you're creating one of the big things is it talks about creating battles for your team, right? The David
Yeah.
Goliath story. Is
Yeah.
that how could you do that effectively without kind of crossing a line of like, hey, I don't know exactly how to put it into words, but how do you effectively kind of motivate them to say like, listen, we're David fighting a giant so that they actually feel motivated to go fight the giant, not that the giant's going
Right.
to come get us.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great question, and David versus Goliath is interesting because you think of it in a few different ways. It can be you fighting against a competitor. You know, it could be you fighting against a government regulation. It could be you fighting against a tariff. You're fighting against a partner inside your own company, a sister company that you're just competing with for fun. You know what I mean? Like David versus Goliath could be a lot of different things, but the fact is that people respond to battles, and you need to get them hyped up about fighting a battle. It's a key tenet of leadership. Every warrior knows it. Every coach knows it. Like it's been done for years and years in the athletic world. And it transitions real well into the corporate world. So you just have to find that battle. It could be nobody thinks we can get this innovation done, and we need to get this innovation done. That can be the battle. But typically, what works best always is picking a competitor, which is what they do in the book. Picking a competitor and just making it an all-out battle with it. I mean, I have killer SKUs all the time where it's competitor, blank competitor killer SKU. Like that's what we name the SKU, and that is what we're doing. We're going directly after that competitor. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody who's working on it knows exactly why they're working on that SKU. We have one mission in mind, getting that SKU out the door, and then the sales guys know why they're selling it. They know how they're selling it, and it just develops this big battle mentality, and everybody gets behind it. It's a lot different than pitching SKU ABC 1, 2, 3. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
And just to kind of clarify, what you're saying is more to kind of reduce your SKU selection, as in your overall product line. From like in the book, it had like 200 SKUs, I think, were
yeah,
killed, and that's I mean that's huge. If you look at the Costco method, I don't think they have more than 5,000 SKUs at any time in the store,
yeah.
where Walmart's got like 100,000 at any point in time, right?
Yeah, and SKU rationalization is a huge part of operations management, and most of this book is written towards the manufacturing, perspective, and that is operations management. And SKU reduction is a huge part of that. And you got to do SKU reduction for the right reason. So I took SKUs down from like 800 to 300 at Whirlpool one time, and that was super easy because they had so many bad SKUs that were just like one off here, one off there, that just were little, iterations. There's other times where you're not in a situation like that, and you don't want to just cut SKUs for SKU cutting, but
Right.
what you want to do is focus on the complexity of it. So you want to take out the complexity, especially in the first 3/4 of the manufacturing line or the manufacturing process, so that you can get as far into the product as possible without adding any complexity. So that part is like clockwork. And then you can drop complexity in at the end. So sometimes complexity, like a SKU for Costco, for example, instead of the same one for Kroger or whatnot, like sometimes that's okay, as long as it's real easy to drop in right at the end,
I
or if
gotcha.
you're getting paid for the complexity. You know what I mean? So a lot of SKU reduction, the way I talk about it is you have to get paid for the complexity. The problem is most of the time you don't. That's when you kill it. You know what I mean? If you're not
Definitely.
getting paid for it, then get rid of it. And if nobody's buying it, you get rid of it. And if they could buy this one instead of this one, you know what I mean? Like you got a bad SKU over here, you got a good SKU over here, and you could, if you cut this, you could move 95% of the volume over to the good SKU. Like those are great times to kill a SKU. That
That
those
def
and so we talk about it as a logic filter. A lot of people just cut SKUs to cut SKUs, and we've all been there where some guy comes in and he's the SKU cutter, and he comes in and tells you you gotta cut 18 of your
Yep.
SKUs, and everybody hates that. You're always, doing this and that. We call it the logic filter. Like you put the logic filter in place and really decide how much of that SKU you're going to move to a new one. If you lose it all, what happens? Do you really need to cut it, or can you just raise price by 21% and then all of a sudden it's a good SKU and you see if it works? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So,
You can kind of play with each individual SKU as well to see if this is actually something that's worth cutting or maybe
yep.
just
Mhm.
modifying. That's
Yep.
great. Your history is with mostly Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
You've had quite the resume. And
Yeah.
let's say let's first what is something, let's say, because you've gone from Amex to Whirlpool, you've
Yeah.
done ITW, you've got some big hitters under your
Yeah.
resume here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's made you able to kind of navigate between going from a credit agency to
Yeah.
appliances? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the once I got into manufacturing, I'd say that's Whirlpool, ITW, Berkshire, and now JBT Morel. I always joke around and say manufacturing is manufacturing. I went from building $40 shopping carts to building $2 million food equipment. Like it's the same thing. You know what I mean? You have a process, you've got you've got safety, you got quality, you've got materials you're buying, and you got labor you're dealing with. And then the engineering department and the sales department, that simplifies it, but at the same time, it really is. Like if I owned in between all that, I actually went out and bought a manufacturing company during COVID, doubled it, and then sold it, and then came back to the big companies. But the point with that is that it all this stuff works in the smaller ones too. It's just scalable, right? So I was selling
Right.
$500 things there. I'm selling $5 million things here. You know what I mean? They take longer to build, and there's a lot more safety and quality involved. You know what I mean? But it's still just manufacturing now. Um, Now there are different, like out of those 10 things in the hot system, there's certain ones that work really well in the small business and certain ones that work really well in the big business and things like that. And you just gotta, that's why I didn't build it sequentially where you gotta do every one of them. It's really built in a way that every system is self-sustaining, and you can pick the three that you want to, or the one that you want to this year, and implement it. And it's not contingent on all the other ones for that reason.
It's actually a really good, and just to clarify, HOT stands for Hypomaniac Operational Turnaround System. And
Correct.
it's a pretty incredible system. And when I'm reading through it, it seems to make pretty good sense. And it almost feels like you're saying the quiet part out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
all the leaders, everyone knows to be the CEO, you got to be a little crazy. And everyone
Yeah.
says crazy, but it's whatever you apply to that crazy is what
Yeah.
it is to get the peak. Today, since the last time we talked was shortly after COVID kind of
Yeah.
took over.
Yeah.
Since then, AI has kind of took over
Yeah.
a lot in business,
Yeah.
right? And for instance, I'm just a case study that I've looked at was OpenAI's ChatGPT
Yeah.
Sora 2, right?
Yeah.
Sora 2 costs about $5 per video generation
Yeah.
to make, and
Yeah.
it costs nothing to make it for us as you.
Yeah.
I guess Sam could probably use the book a little bit, but what if, let's say I toss you into
Yeah.
OpenAI and I go,
Yeah.
Todd, listen, man, the boat's on fire. What can we do? What can we do? Is Sora a SKU that we clip, or is it a SKU that we change, or how can we turn this around? Because obviously, as I'm sure you're familiar, the US economy kind of is being propped up by AI investment at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if
Yeah.
this bubble kind of real quick,
Yeah.
it's going to be rough. So what
Yeah.
can we do as a country? What can they do as a company? What
Yeah.
can be done here?
Yeah, yeah. So, two things real quick. One on the hot system that you were talking about. It is like most of this stuff is just an expansion of current frameworks, right? An extreme view of current frameworks. So it's like the hypomanic view of things that you've already heard of, which is makes it easier to learn as well. Going to the AI, it's such an amazing time, and I might even need to revise that 3 year transformation thing down to like a year and a half now because everything that AI is bringing. So.
Fair.
Um, in my mind, anytime you can break an orthodoxy, and that's in there too, that's smashing orthodoxies for innovation, that's when you can make the most money. So in a situation like this, where all of a sudden, you know, they can make an entire movie out of AI now. It's just started to happen, I guess. The first one or something is coming out or whatever, but
Mm.
they can make a whole movie out of AI right now. And just think about what that's going to do to these $500 million movie budgets. And now all of a sudden they'll be able to make it and not pay actors anything if they don't want to. And there'll be a subset of the consumers that don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
she's pretty, it's a good plot, we're gonna watch the movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they're gonna think. So when it comes to something like you're talking about Sora, and it really is about, like, he smashed an orthodoxy. Now they can get these videos made so cheap. You can get them made so cheap. So how can he monetize that? Or if he even needs to, or does he just do it, drive a bunch of traffic and sell ads off of the page? As people are using it, there's 100 different ways to make money online where you never charge anybody anything. You know, um,
Mhm.
but chances are they'll monetize it, or they'll build to a degree and then sell it to somebody who will monetize it. But at the end of the day, if you can smash an orthodoxy and build some systems around it so that other people can't replicate it, that's what he needs to do. If he's worried that it can be replicated quick, then you need to figure out how to transition those people into a secondary product. So this is the gateway, and then I'm going to sell this off of it. So he probably knows way better than you and I whether other people are going to be able to replicate that immediately or not. He either has it bottled up in IP or he doesn't. And even if he does, he'll know that if the Chinese can come in and knock it out or not, he knows. So he's probably thinking, along those lines. That's what I'd be telling him.
So you think maybe he's kind of got it free right now just to open it up to the market so that there's more adoption before he.
Yeah.
I gotcha. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense, actually.
And even if it was me, there's a lot to leaving something free for as long as you can. So if you can make a secondary product, there's a good kind of business methodology where it's like if 100 people buy your thing for 10 or for $10, probably 10 of them will buy the thing for $100, like whatever that next step up is, and another one of them will pay $1,000 for the souped up version. It's kind of this rule of 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he can get 1 million people to do it for free, there's going to be a subset of those guys like me. I pay $200 a month for Claude, right? Like you can get it for 20. I pay 200. Okay, so there's a subset of us that'll pay 10 times that much. There's another subset that probably would pay 2,000 if they were super users. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
if I was him, I would probably offer the one version for free to everybody, and then be looking at how I can slice up the next 3 premium levels and get the super users to be paying.
And I'm
Because you always make more money on the premium side than you will trying to sell us on doing $1.99 or $10.99 a month.
or even pushing ads because I can't imagine that ads. I mean, ads obviously make a lot of money. They're here today as giants on
Yeah,
in Silicon. Can't think of the word. Silicon Valley, but
yeah,
at the same time, I feel like yeah, like you're saying, the premium users, if like let's say YouTube Premium, they make way more money
yeah,
on premium. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess if you're trying to implement a system such where you need it almost gets them like because there's so many young people using AI right now, so it almost creates a need down the road where
yeah.
maybe you can't afford it now, but if you're older,
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
what did and I'm just curious what is it that happens when you get the AI with like the funded version? Because I guess I've never paid for an AI
Yeah,
before.
typically it's you get a few different things. So usually you'll get more memory. That comes in a couple of different ways. Either you can have longer conversations, you can upload more documents, or even it'll remember your past conversations because you know how you kind of have to start over every time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or start and write the same thing to start the same
Remind
conversation.
it.
And yeah. And so you'll either get the reminders, you'll get more capacity, or you'll get the memory. And so I like it because I like to upload like hundreds of documents and stuff in, I like to upload hundreds of pages in and have it synthesize it all and then ask questions. That's what I like doing with AI. It gets me, I can put all my books in and be like, hey, I need 5 great article ideas on continuous improvement from my books. And then it'll be like, go to chapter, and these are some great articles, and then I can go from there and kind of and keep digging in. Um, and I love that. I think it's so cool how it can take hundreds of pages and just kick out an answer in seconds. You know what I mean?
It's incredible what
Also,
it's able to do, those chatbots.
yeah. There's also some cool ones now as you start paying where you get the coding and
Mm.
you can make like quizzes for your website and stuff like that. It'll just kick out a quiz in minutes, and things like that you can just drop right into your website and all of a sudden it's ready to go. So
It seems like with such a fast, because AI is moving quick. It's like
yeah,
every couple of months there's a new version coming out.
yeah,
This, your principles in the book kind of seem like the perfect thing to harness if you're going to go after this dragon.
yeah,
It's constantly changing. You need to be
yep,
on top of your game. It's never going to be the same tomorrow as it was today.
yep,
And I guess we're coming up towards the end here already. It's going fast.
yeah.
If
Sorry.
we No, don't worry, don't worry. If there's anything that I guess that I want to say is that there's only I guess as we emailed about there's the one controversial element of kind of using in a way mental illness to harness it
Yeah,
and kind of promote yourself off of it.
yeah,
Personally, I agree. I think that's a great, if you have it, you have it. You might
Yeah.
as well use it, right? But there's a lot of people who are also like, well, that's not exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah,
That's not good
yeah,
for you.
and I've actually done a whole separate podcast tour with mental health, professionals and whatnot. We've
Oh,
had some great
amazing.
conversations on this, and this is what I tell them is, diversity training today, obviously gets a bad name and whatnot, but the diversity training today goes after gender and race and religion. And those of us who have been managers for 20 years or even a year and a half should pretty well know how to deal with those three things. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Right.
know what's right, we know what's wrong. We might not do it right, you know what I mean? But we know what's right. Mental health is not like that. People have no idea how to deal with it in the workplace. They don't know how to react. They're scared of it. When I heard this lady speak, and she was like, I came out as, queer in front of 10,000 executives, and afterwards they all came up and hugged me and this and that. Like, that is not the reception I got when I came out as bipolar. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody comes up and tries to fix you. And my point here is that I don't need fixing. I want to turn around these four businesses had I not been bipolar. Like the neurodivergent mind is something that should be valued in the workplace. Also watched for so that I don't commit suicide and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of things that go along with being bipolar and the fact that I hid it for so long, even after being diagnosed, hid it for 8 years. Like that's not healthy. You know what I mean? Like that's not healthy behavior that nobody
Right.
knows. And if I'm going through something, they're not seeing it. Do you know what I mean? And so there's a
100%.
lot of good things to being out and talking about it and showing that there's value. Not only that it shouldn't be afraid, doesn't need to be fixed, but also that you can bring things like out of the box thinking and hyper focus and grandiose goal setting and rapid cycling of ideas. And there's a lot of good things that go along with a lot of these different neurodivergencies. And that needs to be not only celebrated but also educated because 50 some odd percent of Gen Z, identifies at some form of neurodivergence. But the people in my generation and above who are running these companies were taught not to talk about that stuff. And so all of us, we're down in like the 5%. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We're probably the same level of crazy. And they're just
It's just not talking about it.
we just don't talk about it and we don't know
Right.
how to talk about it. So it's just a matter of like it's such an important topic to actually be talking about. And so you can be mad at me for thinking that it's an advantage or saying the word weaponizing and this and that. Like some people don't like that, don't care. I don't,
Love it.
like it's exactly what I did. I took it, I weaponized it, I turned around four companies, I created hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like that's what we do. And that's what you need to recognize that the neurodivergent minds at your workplace can do if you put them in a situation where they can succeed. Stop trying to fix them, start trying to harness their energy and learn something from them. And then also keep in mind that occasionally you're going to have to course correct them and be like, hey, you know,
Come
like
back. Yeah.
come back into the box.
Yup. That's
So,
my biggest thing is getting reminded. Hey, come on back.
yeah.
Come on back. Yeah. I feel that. Well, is there anything else you want to get out of say to everyone before we take off today?
No, man, I just really appreciate it. I'm sorry for being late. I apologize.
Oh, don't even sweat it.
Yeah, Unfair Advantage by Todd Hagopian out in Amazon right now, pre-order. ToddHagopian.com is a great place to read a bunch of stuff that I'm putting out on the book and on the methodologies. It's so just, I don't sell consulting or any of that, and I'm not making any money on the books. Obviously, nobody makes money on books. Like this is just to put it out there and to help people. And so if you have questions, ping me, Twitter, you can always find me on the website. You can find me. Just come ask me questions. Let's have some discussion on it. I love this stuff. Got more books coming out. I'd love some more ideas if people have them. So
Excellent. Yeah, I love your Twitter. I love your Instagram. I follow you everywhere, as you know. And as you know, Todd, you're loved. You're welcome here anytime. I'm happy to have you, and I really do look forward to talking to you again. Hopefully, you're all healed up, and
yeah,
we can get a longer show, and if that works
yeah,
for you.
absolutely. Definitely want to. And I owe you now. So I apologize, but
Oh,
we'll get it
you
done.
don't
Yeah.
owe me a thing, brother. You don't owe me a thing. Listen, man, you've been great. I appreciate all the time you've given me tonight, and we'll talk shortly. All right, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks, brother. Have a good night,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.